We went to the bullpen today. We bring Biz off the scrap heap. He's ready to talk some Hawkeye hoops, men's and women's. We break it down, the men's chances of making the NCAA tournament, what's going to happen this weekend for the women in the Big Ten tournament. All today, Locked On Hawkeyes.
You are Locked On Hawkeyes, your daily podcast on the Iowa Hawkeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, welcome in. I'm Trent Condon. That's Biz, and this is the Locked On Hawkeyes podcast. Thanks for making Locked On Hawkeyes your first listen every day. We're available wherever you find your podcasts. You can also find us on YouTube. While you're there, hit the subscribe button. Helps us get in front of more Hawkeye fans. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. New customers join today. You'll get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Just visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. Biz, good to see you again. It's been a while. And you're a little busy? Driving all through the great state of Iowa?
Yeah, getting ready to head to Minneapolis to cheer on the Hawkeye women tomorrow, Trent. So trying to get all the crap done that you need to do before you go on spring break. So driving around to you get me from the front seat of my car today.
Not too bad. So making your way up there, taking the kids up, and get to watch some good basketball. We anticipate it's going to be a long stay in Minneapolis, and certainly the news of Mackenzie Holmes, yet another knee injury to her, the same knee injury that she had a torn ACL before on. She's had another injury in there. We'll see about her availability. That's who Iowa likely will face in the semifinals. It feels like the path is set up, either Wisconsin or Penn State. Those two teams collide this evening. Iowa's played incredibly well against both of those teams. So you hate to say it's a foregone conclusion, but the way Coach Bluter has coached her team in the Big Ten tournament feels like it's going to be a long stay in Minneapolis.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly seems like things are set up for us to hopefully make it to Sunday. But I'm still guessing that we'll see Mackenzie Holmes. I think it might be a ploy on Indiana's part to claim she's not playing. But yeah, the Wisconsin Penn State game shouldn't worry us at all. Penn State's fallen apart since we played them the last time. They lost 8 in a row or something like that, and Wisconsin's played a little bit better, but the thing is, both those two teams like to be up tempo, and if you're going to be up tempo with Iowa, you better have the talent to stick with us, and I don't think either one of those teams do. So, yeah. So unlike some of the men's tournaments over the past, hopefully we at least make it to the weekend. So.
Yeah, we've seen that issue crop up plenty of times in the past, including just last year, getting bounced in the first game against Ohio State. We'll get into the men here in a moment. Biz, take us back though to Sunday and the environment in Carver. Just incredible. And, talking to people there, people that have been to a lot of games, being able to be able to see that environment and what it was, just take us back. And it's different. Me being here in Des Moines, you being over there in Iowa City, just kind of encompass the last 4 years and what this grown into and just the importance of women's basketball now in the corridor.
Well, two stories kind of tell you how crazy it was, Trent. First, so my daughter had volleyball in the morning, so I went and watched volleyball, and then her last game got done in Cedar Rapids at like 10:50. So we were worried we were going to miss tip off, and the chaos getting in there. But by the time we got to Iowa City at like 11:30, we were able to drive literally directly to the stadium because there was nobody on the roads. Everybody was already there. Everybody that was going to the game except for us had either went to a game day in the morning and stayed, or had gotten there, at least an hour and a half in advance. So, it was funny because it was like a ghost town outside walking in 25 minutes per game because everybody was already in their seats. And then second, we get to our seats and we noticed that Nolan Ryan had decided to come watch Caitlin play, and we look and realize that he's literally like 5 rows in front of us. So, it's pretty crazy that Nolan Ryan is 5 rows in front of you and is there to watch an Iowa women's basketball game. And then, the atmosphere just from beginning to end. People that are older remember. Iowa men's basketball. When I was in college, the late 90s, every single game was sold out. But not like that sellout. It was never, I can't remember ever a time where, it was basically completely full an hour before the game and completely full an hour after the game. Nobody left. Not a single person left for the senior day. I mean, it was still 100% full afterwards. So, yeah, pretty amazing day, and honestly, a day that we'll probably never ever see again. So, I mean, that's kind of the thing I keep thinking this whole stretch is, this is never going to happen again. So, try to enjoy as many moments as we can.
Yeah, and hopefully we get 9 more of them, 3 in the Big Ten tournament, 6 in the NCAA tournament, and culminates there. I've throughout the course of this season. Now, I think you also know me as a fan. I think I go through a little more highs and lows than you do. You're much more even keeled than I am. You're also a little more optimistic as a fan than I am. And throughout the course of the season, I kept wanting more. And we know Caitlin's going to be there. And in the biggest moments, it seems like she shines even brighter than she already does in those big moments. But the supporting cast, and maybe it was what happened against Ohio State, seeing what we've seen lately, Feuerbach really stepping forward. McCabe, what she did against Minnesota, seeing some of these other pieces really step forward. My optimism meter certainly has grown just over the last week for this team. And getting to a Final Four is going to be incredibly difficult. It's not going to be easy, but my optimism has grown. Yours is usually always there, but what you see with this team and what it's going to take for them to get to a Final Four.
Some luck. I mean, realistically, I mean, the thing this team has to do that, teams like South Carolina and UCLA that don't have to do is we've got to take some risks on defense. We have to be creative on defense. You saw it last year. I mean, the reason we beat South Carolina is we basically didn't guard 2 of their 5 starters. We dared them to shoot, and they didn't shoot. And when they did shoot, they weren't confident, and it basically ended up being 3-on-5. And then the reason we lost to LSU is we tried that same strategy, and the girl we didn't guard went off for 6 threes in the first half.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a girl that but you saw against Ohio State, same thing. We didn't guard 2 Ohio State girls. I mean, the transfer from Duke and the point guard, we basically, Caitlin Clark just played a 1-girl zone in the middle, and Kate Martin matched up on Cody McMahon, whatever she was, which is totally different than they did before. But you're taking risks in that situation, and against any team that's a top 10, 15 team, we're going to have to take some risk defensively and hope that the girls we choose to that we ask and say, hey, you got to beat us, that they don't beat us. So that's number one. And then obviously number 2 is what you just talked about. The role players have to shoot decent. They don't have to shoot great. They just have to shoot. They have to shoot well enough that Gabby Marshall's. She doesn't have to shoot amazing, but she has to shoot 3 out of 8 just to keep the defense honest a little bit. But the biggest difference in general with this team, though, is it's weird to say this because she's always been an amazing generational player, but Clark is so much better than she was even this time last year. She just, it amazes me her ability to step up in the moment, like every game. She never backs down to pressure. If anything, she thrives under pressure. And against bad opponents, she has to it's like the old Jordan. She has to manufacture ways to get mad so she can play better. But fact of the matter is, given the limited amount of talent we have around her, we're going to need some luck. We're going to need some teams to shoot bad, and then the girls that we force to beat us don't do it. So, but it worked last year. So I'm not doubting this team anymore. I think, will they make the Final Four? Maybe, but it wouldn't surprise me at all. Last year, it legitimately surprised me they made the Final Four. I thought they had too many deficiencies, and I thought at some point Clark would go, 6 for 24 and they'd lose. But this year it wouldn't surprise me at all if they returned. So I don't know, and that's solely because Clark's just that much better than or I guess that shouldn't say that much better, that much more consistent than she was. She's amazing.
It's a fair way to put it. And I over the weekend took a look back before the game on Saturday or Sunday and watched like a 12-minute highlight video of the South Carolina game. Boy, that got me revved up too before the game against Ohio State. She was just so good in that one. But you're right, the consistency that she's shown, it's another level. And like I said, those big moments, that is something that she is going to be there every single time. And we do have to remember last year, Sweet 16, didn't have to play Duke. It was Colorado who pulled the upset. That was a really good matchup for Iowa a year ago. Stanford was not waiting in the Elite Eight. It was Louisville that was there. So the bracket also opened up, and you don't know that's going to happen. Probably their most difficult game until the Final Four was against Georgia in the round of 32. And one of the women's bracketologies that I saw had them matched up as a number 1 seed. The last number 1 in the 8-9 game was Ole Miss. Ole Miss, who a year ago beat Stanford in the round of 32. So we don't know who that matchup's going to be. There's just a portion of the fan base that just thinks this is a foregone conclusion. And I think you and I and most everybody should know it's just not as simple as that.
Well, and we've been somewhat fortunate too that teams have been willing to just go up tempo with us also.
Yes.
Like one of the things that worries me in a tournament setting is, when we lost to Creighton 2 years ago, they slowed it down, they ground it out, they made it an ugly game. They beat the crap out of Caitlin, and they made it a really physical game, and it was played at a different pace. If you get a team that's physical and has some big bodies that they can switch on and keep it in the 60s and 70s instead of the 80s and 90s, we could be in trouble. And that's that's what you talked about, like Georgia and the Ole Misses and teams like that. I mean, but I don't know. I'm cautiously optimistic that they're not going to stub their toe early on. I think those first 2 games, I think those first 2 games especially, I think we'll cruise through those pretty easily. Then when you get to the Sweet 16, then you never know.
Good stuff there, Biz. We continue. Let's take a look at the men's team here. Locked On Hawkeyes. We're going to talk about the matchup against the Illini and then the Big Ten tournament for Iowa. What still needs to be done for the Hawkeyes to punch their ticket? What's led to this turnaround here late in the season? We'll get into that as we continue. Locked On Hawkeyes. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more, whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number 1 ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Trent and Biz back with you again here. Locked On Hawkeyes. Thanks for making Locked On Hawkeyes your first listen every day. Time to talk about the men. And speaking of my optimism meter, I was at empty after the loss to Maryland and then another loss to Maryland, and they're trudging along at 6-8. They still got road trips to Michigan State, Northwestern. There's no way. And here we are. I believe 2 wins away from being an NCAA tournament team, and any combination really over the next 3. You beat Illinois, you win your first game in the Big Ten tournament, then lose in the quarterfinals. I think they're going to be it, probably to Dayton. They lose to Illinois, win 2 games, including more likely beating Illinois in the tournament. I think that's enough to get them in. How did this team get here, Biz?
I think you have to give a huge amount of credit to Fran McCaffrey. I know people that the outside persona of Fran is that he's this fiery, crazy psychopath that screams at officials and does those types of things. And, that's warranted because he does that occasionally. But if you know Iowa basketball and you love Iowa basketball like you and I mean, they've started 0-3. Fran doesn't panic. I mean, and he's the outward, the face of the program. He doesn't throw anybody under the bus. He talks about how they're going to be okay. They're going to, this is a team that's going to battle and keep, get better. And they did. And then, like you said, later in the year, they lose bad loss to Maryland, really tough loss at Indiana, tough loss to Penn State, games where they either should have won or could have won all those games. And after all those games, he just kind of stays the course. And I think you just give him at no point was there any panic. You and I panicked, like you said. I think everybody every Iowa fan at some point thought, well, we're not, we're done this year. It's going to be an ugly year. We're going to be 6-14. It's going to be a transition year. The people that didn't think that were the people that matter, Fran and the players. And they've stayed the course and give them credit because they played really, really good basketball in the last 3 or 4 weeks. Even the losses, that Illinois game at Illinois was some high level basketball on both teams. You can argue only on one half of the court, but that's just the way we are. At this point, you're going to have to accept the fact that it's first to 85 to win most Iowa basketball games. But I've really enjoyed it. They're just mean, I've been impressed. Like I said, impressed with Fran. His behind the scenes demeanor of just staying calm and not hitting the panic button, I think, has really helped this team, because I think everybody in that room has stayed together. Nobody's quit, and they played their best basketball down the stretch. So whatever the opposite of the Fran fade is what's happening right now.
And it's better to see than what we dealt with, at least kind of in that early part of the Fran tenure. They've been good down the stretch. Now it's just punching the ticket. I want to throw a theory at you, Biz, and I didn't prepare you for this one, but you hear it, I hear it. I think all Hawkeye fans hear it. It's this lack of success, the lack of a Sweet 16, not getting to the second weekend in the NCAA tournament. And speaking of highlights, it popped up in my feed a week or two ago. It was a game against Tennessee in the round of 32. They force overtime and lose it to the Vols. And if Iowa would have won that game, got to the second weekend, do you think that all would be forgotten? That all of a sudden that we'd have 15,000 in the stands every single game throughout the course of the season? I think it's almost a lazy narrative that people just point to that. There feels like there has to be more there, because just one more victory, if they would have upset Villanova or Gonzaga one of those 2 years in a round of 32, I don't think that'd be enough. And it's kind of a combination of things, but I just think that's a lazy take, that it's just lack of Sweet 16 that Hawkeye fans, for the most part, are staying away from Fran's program.
Yeah, honestly, Trent, even if we made the Sweet 16, I think people would probably find something new to bitch about. I mean, because I remember, 3 years ago, the big thing was, terrible in the Big Ten tournament, can't win the Big Ten. Then we win the Big Ten tournament, and everybody switched to, okay, now they can't get to the second weekend. And so, is it right to be disappointed that we haven't made the Sweet 16 since 1999? Hell yes. I mean, you and I are big fans, and it pisses me off. It's been 25 years, and it pisses me off even more that, Iowa State was able to do it 1 year after being 2-22. I mean, but what that shows you is you got to have some luck to get in the Sweet 16 also. And we've never really gotten a lucky draw. There's never been, an upset that, the other time we played Tennessee in the play-in game.
Yes.
And we lost that game. That bracket ended out opening up wide open, and we probably would easily, if we win that game, we make the Sweet 16, because was it a terrible Massachusetts team, and then there was like a 14 seed up seat, or a 14 beat a 3 on the other side.
It was Duke.
All you had to do was beat Massachusetts and a 14 seed to get there. But it's a combination of luck and just his style of basketball, being an offensive minded team, doesn't translate very well to mid to late March, because the games are just played differently. You got to be you got to be able to win a 68-66 game and not necessarily try to outscore everyone. So I don't know. I'm at some point I just get tired of I think it becomes the trendy thing to do, to just bitch about Fran and his teams. And I don't know. He is what he is. I get frustrated about the same things. The 2-foul rule drives me insane. Their lack of commitment to defense is frustrating. But if you were to weigh the pros and cons of the Fran era, I mean, the pros are about 15-2. So I don't know. Especially this year, I've really, really, really enjoyed the last month. I just think I think the team has kind of taken kind of a screw you mentality to the fan base. Like you heard it with Patrick yesterday. I mean, he kind of was like, we don't really care. Fans come, fans don't come. Like fans have kind of, I mean, it was kind of in his voice. He kind of like, we don't anticipate a good crowd because most crowds are bad. So, and he's not wrong. He probably shouldn't have said it, but he's not wrong.
One other guy I want to get your thought. Josh Dix has been unbelievable, and just how efficient he is. Just his mid-range game is something you just don't see in basketball anymore. But the elevation of Tony Perkins, and last time out he wasn't shooting it very well, but he had 14 assists in the game against Northwestern. I've maintained for a long time he's good in a pinch, a backup kind of point guard. I think he's proven to be dead wrong. I mean, there is more to his game and his ability. He's become tighter with the handle. His assist rate has grown exponentially this season. All the things that you're looking for here. If I'm Brad Heinrich and then the Swarm Collective, number one for basketball is to find a way to get Tony Perkins back for another season, because you got that figured out. Harding can be the backup for a year, and then you go from there. That's what I'm doing at the top of my wish list for next season. How about you?
Yeah, well, the thing with Tony that's really impressed me, I think his leadership skills have just gone through the roof these last couple of months also. I thought early in the year his body language in a couple games really stunk, and he was really getting to the point where he was kind of almost a whiner. Like every call he's bitching to the officials, and just kind of seemed like little things would get in his head. And I think the last couple months it's been just the opposite. Like he's had a couple games. I mean, what game was it? The Wisconsin game. He got benched. And he got straight up benched late in the first half because he was playing like crap. And he didn't pout, and he came back, and he not only played a great second half, but he hit the game winner at the end. And I don't know. I've always been a Tony Perkins fan. I think I've always liked him more than you have. But I mean, since about middle of the year last year, it's kind of a similar trajectory to Dick's in some ways. I mean, because if you think about it, I remember that Illinois game at home last year, he was unstoppable, just constant mid-range jumpers, and he carried us to that win. And then he's kind of gone from there. And then Dick's is kind of the same. Midway through this year, for whatever reason, Dick's finally realized he's a scorer. And I mean, God, his mid-range game is incredible. I mean, he can get that shot off pretty much whenever he wants. And when he's making it, I mean, there's no stopping him. I mean, I did not see that coming at all. If you'd have asked me 2 months ago, I thought best case scenario would be Josh Dix would be a borderline starter his senior year. And now he's a borderline star.
Well, Biz, before we let you go, I got a lawyer question for you. I'm trying to figure things out.
What'd you do wrong, Trent?
No legal troubles over here. We're in good shape, at least at this point in time. We're okay there. But
that's good. I'm not giving you bail money, Trent. So
good. We're all right. But what this the Dartmouth becoming a union, what this kind of means? There's a lot of legalese that I've been reading through. I'm trying to figure this out, and more towards a look towards the future. We'll do that with Biz here. Yes, he is a lawyer during his day job. We'll do that as we continue. This is Locked On Hawkeyes. Fire TV is your destination for sports, from live games to highlights to in-depth analysis. Fire TV offers amazing viewing experiences with smart TVs, as well as the Fire TV stick that you can plug into your existing TV. It provides access to millions of movies and TV episodes, as well as free and live TV. Whether it's opening weekend for baseball, college basketball tournament, or you have anything else on your sports calendar, you're going to want to have a Fire TV. Fire TV recently created Fire TV channels. They deliver a constant supply of the latest favorite sports brands, all for free, including right here with Locked On and most of the big pro leagues, college conferences as well. Fire TV channels let you dive into all the games, the analysts, highlights, and a whole lot more to keep up in the world of sports. Not to mention great news, entertainment, gaming, travel, cooking videos as well. Check out Fire TV channels on Fire TV and Alexa devices. If you haven't checked out Fire TV channels, you should right now. Trust me on this. Learn more at Amazon.com/LockedOnFireTV. All right, Biz, we're putting you to the test here. And Dartmouth, they're unionizing. A 13-2 vote, something like that. It's a private institution. It's an Ivy Leaguer. They're terrible at basketball, but their basketball team is unionizing. This feels like the beginning of what's going to happen across the country. Northwestern tried to do this, about a decade back. Very simply, explain this to me like I'm 5. What does this mean?
Well, I mean, I think more than anything, Trent, it's just another brick in the wall of the demise of the NCAA in general. I mean, more so than that. I mean, the unionizing part, like you said, they tried. Northwestern almost did it a decade ago. I mean, they're demanding to be treated like employees and not as student athletes, but that's basically what they're being treated as anyway with the NIL part. It's just formalizing it. To me, the bigger nail in the coffin in the last month or so has been the ruling on the preliminary injunction with was it Tennessee and Virginia, the two schools, whatever. Because that one, I mean, what that does is it basically, the NCAA has basically announced we're not doing anything with NIL anymore. We're not going to try and enforce it. We're not going to try and stop it. We're not going to try and regulate it. And I talked to a guy who's involved with the NIL program at Iowa, who our kids are and stuff together. And obviously he's always very, very careful on what he says and doesn't say. But the way he described it is before that ruling, you had to always be completely cryptic about what you were doing. And you could never tell a recruit, here's exactly what we're putting together. You always had to kind of be like, well, hypothetically, if you come here, we can possibly maybe do this. And the way he said it is like, if you're going to take a job, you're going to want to know your salary. But we couldn't do that. We couldn't be like, here's your salary. We had to do it in very like hypothetical, cryptic terms because it couldn't be an inducement. And now they can just flat out say, here's what we can do for you. So, I mean, I think from a college standpoint, and especially a place like Iowa, I think it'll be helpful because I think we don't have to beat around the bush, and we can, like you said, Tony Perkins, we can flat out tell Tony Perkins, you come back, here's exactly what we can do for you.
Mm-hmm.
And, then he's got to make a business decision on what he wants to do. So, but same thing with the unionizing. I mean, I think in the end, the NCAA, I think, finally sees the writing on the wall and realizes that all of these things, the unionizing, the NIL stuff, they're fighting a losing battle on all of it. And so the quicker they can try to create some sort of universal regulations that everybody can agree on, the better. But, it's completely the Wild West at this point. But I don't know. I mean, you and I have talked about it in the past. I'm all for it. I have no sympathy whatsoever for universities who have basically been pocketing insane amounts of money forever and have never had to deal with any of this, and now they have to, and now they finally have to, treat all these different athletes as employees, which they've always been. We've always known they have been, but now you finally have to face the facts and do it. And like you and I have talked about before, I love the way Iowa's handling it. I think the fact that we're focusing mostly on bringing back returning players and rewarding the people that have been committed to the university and have done well at the university, I think it's going to be a long-term success. And I think it's going to put us in a situation where, I think you're going to see Tony Perkins come back, and I think you're going to see Payton Sandfort come back. And I think, I think football will be a little bit different because obviously the COVID years are going to end here eventually. But I think we had a stretch there for a decade where almost every year one or two guys were leaving. We've had a lot of people leave early for the NFL in the last decade, and I think if the only two that probably would have left early, given the new circumstances, are probably Hawkinson and DeJean. I think outside of those two, I think everybody else probably comes back for another year because we can pay them just as well as they were going to get paid. Amani Hooker got paid what? I don't know, $750,000 as a third round draft pick. We probably could have paid him more.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think it'll be helpful for Iowa long term, and honestly, that's all I care about. I mean,
yes.
big picture, does it help Iowa? And I think it does.
A final thing on this front: am I crazy? If unionization happens, they become employees. That can lead to contracts. That's going to lead to probably not the same kind of things that athletes are getting right now. Is right now probably the best time to be a student athlete? Because in the future, I don't know if they're going to have the same kind of flexibility. There's going to be contracts. There's going to be maybe certain amenities that they're not going to be able to have. I mean, the likelihood that they're going to be able to transfer 4 times, I think in the future, both the Big Ten and the SEC are trying to push back on that. Probably right now might be the best time to be a student athlete because, well, it is the wild, wild west. And you're getting both sides of it without having to have the contracts that are kind of connected to it.
Yeah, I think across the board, I'd say that. I mean, I think what you're going to see eventually, and you can see the tea leaves already go in this direction. I mean, there's going to end out being 3 levels of football. Right now, there's 2. I mean, there's the FCS and the FBS. 5 years down the road, there's going to be 3. There's going to be the 2 super conferences or whatever, top 40, 50 teams. And then there's going to be the middle level, and then there's going to be the lower level. And, if you're the superstar athlete, those higher level, you're still going to get paid really well. But I think if you're in that middle level down the road, I mean, you're going to struggle to get paid as much because, I think what you're going to see like in the pros, I mean, you look at Major League Baseball right now. I mean, there's some ridiculously good talent that's not signed out there because you can't pay everybody an insane amount of money. So I think what's going to happen is you're going to see the true crazy top level guys like Caleb Williams getting paid absurd amounts, but that middle level is going to eventually bottom out a little bit. And so, yeah. So to answer your question, I think right now, I think across the board, everybody's getting paid right now. I'm not sure that's going to be the case 10 years down the road. They'll get paid, but it won't be right now, I think everybody is from what I understand, Iowa. I mean, you can be you can be the 13th player on the women's basketball team, and you're getting paid pretty well right now.
Good time to be there. No doubt about it. All right, Biz. Well, safe travels up to Minnesota. Get the kids, get the wife, get everybody going there. Are you making it? Are you staying Target Center area? You guys out by the mall? You going to hang out with Uncle Rusty? What's going on?
Staying at the mall, but we're going to head downtown, visit our good friend Rusty, and our friend Beef is going to be there as well. So
nice.
We'll be kind of all over the place. I don't know. It's going to be chaos because like 70% of the place is general admission tickets. So I can't imagine how long the line. And with us being the first game of the second session, they're going to have to kick everybody out and turn around and get everybody right back in. I mean, they may still be letting people in the door when the game starts. It's going to be such a long line out the door. So I hope they're prepared for it because it's going to be it's going to be complete chaos in general admission seating.
Well, good luck on the bowl at Cowboy Jackson. We'll talk to you. Maybe we'll track you down again next week, Biz.
My old man back won't allow me to do a mechanical bullshit.
That's Biz. I'm Trent. Thanks for making Locked On Hawkeyes your first listen every day. Biz, good luck up there. We'll talk to you next week.
All right, go Hawks.